You're going to shoot. Shoot. Don't talk. Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Spaghetti Western Jamboree. The Jamboree where, what do? We talk about spaghetti westerns, naturally. It's a genre that's been very near and dear to my heart since I was a child. And since growing up, what can I say? I love them more than ever. If you're tuning in, odds are you probably do too. And boy, it is a great time to be a spaghetti western fan. Tonight's movie is SABATA, which if you haven't seen, go check it out. There is a link below in the description that'll take you to a pristine copy. I believe it's on Tubi. But also, if you do a search for SABATA on YouTube, you will find an absolutely beautiful, pristine Blu-ray rip that you can watch completely free of charge. It's a great time to be a spaghetti western fan because the genre has never been more accessible. Arrow Video in particular has been killing it lately, putting out a lot of this stuff. And Tubi in particular, I know a lot of people aren't aware of Tubi and are sometimes reluctant to click on a Tubi link when I provide it. You know, thinking maybe that they have to like sign up or that there's something shady about it. No, you don't even need an account. And oh my God, they've got, let me check this out as a matter of fact, because the selection of spaghettis is pretty intense. And real quick, actually, before we really get into it, let me begin with a message from our sponsor, which is yours truly. I've got a comic book out called Six Gun Gorilla Long Days of Vengeance. Campaign is on Indiegogo right now. It is active, and you will be able to back it at a number of different tiers. There's something for everybody. And let me just share my screen here. See, I'm always reluctant to promote my own stuff. I'm good at promoting other people's stuff, but you know, there's nothing wrong with me promoting my own stuff, is there? I don't know. It sometimes feels that way, but I don't know. I think maybe I just need to get over it. There we go. And what can I say? It's a critically acclaimed comic book, obviously. if you're watching this and you know me, definitely inspired in large part by my love of spaghetti westerns and also giant gorilla movies like King Kong and Mighty Joe Young and well, gee, anything with a giant gorilla in it, except maybe Conga. Conga, I can pass on. Beautiful artwork, as you can see. Link is below in the description. We're approaching our 10K stretch goal, and also if you click here, you can watch the trailer. But enough about that. Enough about the self promotion. Let's talk. God, I'm boomering it tonight, aren't I? You'll have to forgive me. But let us talk about SABATA. Woo! Okay, so the story with SABATA goes that Gianfranco Parolini had directed a movie called Sartana. And let me see if I can bring up a picture here of Gianni Garco, who was the actor who first played Sartana. And this was one of the ones that was hard to find. They never showed this one on TV when I was a kid. So, I think it was in my 30s, maybe, when I first got a copy of this, which was like a VHS rip of a Japanese Blu-ray, with the hard-coded subtitles and everything. This is like pre-DVD, when this sort of a thing was not really that accessible. Anyway, Sartana, a very dark, spooky kind of gunslinger, inscrutable. His motives unclear, at least for the duration of this film. There are 3 sequels. No, actually, I think there are 4 sequels. 3 with Gianni Garco, and then 1 with George Hilton. And they're all really good, actually. Anyway, Giancarlo Parolini. I'm sorry, I was about to say Giancarlo Giannini. I'm just getting my Italians mixed up. You'll have to pardon me. Gianfranco Parolini had a big hit with Sartana. And so there was a lot of call for a sequel. And he was going to direct the sequel. But then he had a falling out with the producer. And so instead he made SABATA. Just changed some letters and gave us basically the same character. Although I have to say, it's not exactly the same character. I mean, they certainly come from the same neighborhood. They're cut from the same cloth. But Lee Van Cleef brings a different kind of an attitude to the part than Gianni Garco did. And that's not to take anything away from Gianni Garco. He was one of the giants of the spaghetti western. But, we're talking about Lee Van Cleef here, right? And last week, I remember there was somebody in the chat that said, when I think of spaghetti westerns, I think Lee Van Cleef. And, well, a lot of people do. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a Lee Van Cleef movie this week. And if I'm going to do a Lee Van Cleef movie, I don't want a film in which he is second banana or even, co-starring as part of a duo, like in, For a Few Dollars More or Day of Anger with Giuliano Gemma, although I'd love to do that movie sometimes since it's one of my favorites. I would say that SABATA is as good as you could possibly get or hope for in a solo Lee Van Cleef spaghetti western. They had a lot of money when they made this, and that is to say American money. United Artists, which actually was originally a British company that was founded by Charlie Chaplin and some other British folks, they bankrolled SABATA and put a lot of money into it, and it was made very much with the intention of not just being distributed to foreign audiences. Specifically, they were looking for an American audience, and they found it too, because there are two. Well, okay, here's the thing about the SABATA sequels. There is Adios SABATA, which is not a SABATA movie. They just retitled it one at the last minute too. Let me see if I could get a pic of. There we go. Of the man Yul Brynner. So they wanted a SABATA sequel. It hadn't been made yet, so they took a film that that Parolini made after SABATA called Indio Black, and they retitled it Adios SABATA. Now, one of the things that's really funny about this movie is that clearly he's not SABATA. At some point you hear, people refer to him as SABATA, but the theme song, they couldn't go and dub that. So the theme song clearly identifies him as Indio Black. It's like, Indio Black. So they're like, hey, what's up, SABATA? Indio Black. But that's an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it too. That one's cool also because it takes place, I believe, during, I think, 1867 and the rule of Emperor Maximilian, a German cat who was, installed as like the Emperor of Mexico. Very interesting, strange little piece of Mexican history that a lot of writers have, had some fun with. So eventually he did get to do a sequel to SABATA called Return of SABATA. Let's see. Yeah, and here's the SABATA trilogy box set. No, actually, this is for the soundtrack, I believe. But Return of SABATA is not as good as the original, but it is entertaining, and you certainly could do worse. It's just a letdown after seeing the original SABATA, and then Adios SABATA. It's not as good as either of those films. But still, it's Lee Van Cleef kicking ass with his four-barrel Dillinger even. It's got a really funny song, too, that, like, I'm telling you, once you hear it, you're not going to get it out of your head. Boom, 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 boom. Four-barrel Dillinger, the only invincible man in the countryside. SABATA, 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 SABATA. The fastest gun in the West. I said the fastest gun in the West. Okay, now if you haven't tuned out, if you made it through that, my apologies. But, I've had that song ringing in my ears all day. I just had to get it out. Here's a really interesting little piece of art. It looks almost like a mural. One of the things I like to do with my horror movie stream and also this one is check out all of the cool posters. Because I'm a big fan of poster art, and not the modern poster art, which is usually, some very shoddily photoshopped piece of garbage that, some guy made in a cubicle, took him maybe 15 minutes or something. The art, especially for the Italian Westerns, is fantastic. I mean, these are gorgeous. They're like beautiful paintings. If you ever get a chance to flip through a book or even go online and do a search for spaghetti Western art, you are going to see some absolutely beautiful, beautiful stuff. Iconic images. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Now, isn't that 100 times better than like something photoshopped? And I think that's a lobby card. So SABATA, not a total remake of Sartana, but it's pretty much the same character, I have to say. And it's interesting because Gianni Garco, when he first was playing this character, Sartana, wanted Sartana to look a lot like Lee Van Cleef as Colonel Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More, who was, not a entirely unspooky character, certainly a very driven man. And Sartana is very clearly inspired by Colonel Mortimer. He dresses in a very similar way with all black with a black cape. He also shares Colonel Mortimer's love of weapons with extra long barrels for that little extra bit of range to get the upper hand on the bad guys. And so then for SABATA, you had Colonel Mortimer himself, Lee Van Cleef, and dressed in a very similar style. The cast in this is fantastic. You've got not just Lee Van Cleef at the top of his game, charismatic as all get out. And you also have William Berger. William Berger was in a ton of Italian westerns, most notably Keoma. God, if I have to go pick it through my skull to think of like how many spaghettis William Berger has been in. Yeah, because also he was he was the villain in Sartana. So you see a lot of the same cast from Sartana ending up in this film, which is kind of like a stealth Sartana sequel in many respects. But we'll be getting to him. He's absolutely fantastic. Plays a character named Banjo, who is one of the most memorable spaghetti western characters of all time, I think. The plot opens with SABATA riding into town and great long atmospheric shots. This during the opening credits of him just like riding through town, and these Union soldiers that are basically telling him to move on because there's some money that's being protected. The army's money is at the local bank. Oh, of course, music by Marcello Giombini. Very, very good score to this, too. Ennio Morricone couldn't score as prolific as he was. He couldn't do the score to every Italian Western, although pretty close. But Giombini's score is right on the money. You really couldn't ask for better. And this was produced by Alberto Grimaldi and directed by Frank Kramer. No, Frank Kramer is, of course, the pseudonym for Gianfranco Parolini. You have to remember that the term spaghetti western was a pejorative term. That's to say that a lot of Americans and I think also probably people in the rest of the world were kind of making fun of the Italian westerns. Just the fact that the Italians were making westerns. But then, of course, the Italians made them even better. Oh, hey, what up, Phil?
Hey.
What's going on?
What's up?
Howdy, partner.
I tried to make it this week.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you, man. I'm glad I don't have to just hang out and monologue all by myself. But I tried rocking a hat in the first episode, but with the headphones and everything, it just wasn't working. So you've seen SABATA. What did you think of it?
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was obviously spaghetti western, but just off the bat, where you're introduced to a character kind of with no context, even when we get to SABATA, you don't really know. And even that carries through the end,
Yes. It's a lot like Sartana in that respect. I don't know if you were listening, but I was talking about how basically the director of this did a movie called Sartana that was a big hit. And then he had a falling out with the producer, so he just moved some letters around, changed some letters, and turned Sartana into SABATA. And that's a character who in that film is totally inscrutable. Kind of spooky, possibly supernatural. Certainly has a talent for appearing in places at strange times. And, in the sequels, he's not as inscrutable because by the end of the first Sartana, you've figured him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, SABATA rides into town and, he's clearly taking everything in, but you don't know what his angle is.
Right. And this is a good example of a hero who's kind of just like almost like a force of nature,
Yeah.
This guy, he doesn't.
He's OP. He's OP.
No one gets the upper hand on him ever.
Never.
He gets stuff done. And a lot of the, if you want to dissect it, like the emotional characteristics come from the supporting characters of Alley Cat and the big guy, I forget his name.
Karincha.
Yeah, Karincha. For sure. So those supporting characters kind of act as your, they pluck at the heartstrings. There's more on the line for them.
Right. The thing about SABATA in this is immediately you kind of like him because he runs into Karincha in the street. And Karincha is like this Mexican dude who had fought in the Civil War. And as he says, he's like, it's like they gave me a medal and, basically threw my ass out. And this is right after he's had his ass thrown out of the saloon. Right. For not having any money.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he picks up the medal and he's about to throw it, toss it aside, but then he goes, ah.
Yeah. I mean, and it shows like, he feels like he doesn't get any respect and stuff. And what good was it to defend somewhere where you have nothing for it, which is a cool, aspect of that character that he keeps coming back to,
Yep.
And then SABATA gives him the money to go into the saloon there. And even when he goes in, the owner's about to kick him out and he's like, I got money,
Yep.
So it's a good start and introduction for both of these characters, and also you get Alley Cat too. He calls up to his, Curtis, his buddy, hanging up at the top, which was what a weird character. This guy.
Yes.
He looks like the guy from Typo Negative.
Peter Steele?
Yeah, looks like Peter Steele.
Yeah, this was a guy named Aldo Conti. And he plays Karincha's only friend, Alley Cat. And this was a guy, you'll notice that he's mute. He never says a word. Mm-hmm. I think that's because this guy really wasn't much of an actor.
Oh, yeah.
He was a stuntman.
Yeah, obviously. The stunts in this film are awesome. They're
incredible.
So good.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
I remember one critic actually kind of comparing the stunt work in this to Hong Kong action films.
Yeah.
Right? Where there are explosions and they send the bad guys launching like 20 feet in like any direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, this also kind of puts the movie a little bit in the subgenre of the circus spaghettis. That's to say, there are like a bunch of spaghettis that have to do with circuses and people in circuses and ex-circus people, that sort of a thing. But yeah, it's like when SABATA gives Karincha that coin, he looks up at him. He's not just like, oh, like he's not that psyched because he just got like some money to buy a drink.
Yeah.
But also because he's just like, like I think I just found an ally.
Yeah.
Right? It's like SABATA's kind of paying for his good favor.
Sure.
It's like a down payment, basically.
Yeah.
What up, J Dollar Dog? Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in, joining us. We do appreciate you. So yeah, he goes into the saloon. It's a classic spaghetti western saloon, decked out. He shoots the dice because they're loaded.
Right, yeah. He points out that the dice are loaded. Someone's getting screwed at the table. I loved the iconography of the saloon. Just even the chicks dancing. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like the brothel dancers in their really cool outfits and their garters and stuff.
The can girls, yeah.
And then just the later on in the scene when he starts up the auto piano.
Yes, he flicks really a coin across the room. It goes into the player piano.
And a great writing in here too, because then that establishes how accurate he is with the coin within the first 15 minutes of the film, which circles back around. So which is awesome. Like that's really good, actually really good writing, and very almost pulpy stuff going on there.
Oh, not even almost. Not even almost. Yeah.
Even, spoilers, but even at the ending, which hopefully I could hang around to when we get there.
Right.
How the bad guy meets his demise is totally pulp.
Yep.
Really good.
Yeah. And also the villain Stengel in this is totally a pulp villain.
Yes.
And when we get to him, I'll go into how it's a type of villain that you see quite a bit in the Spaghettis. That is to say, a sadistic aristocrat.
Yeah.
But he takes that shit to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of creativity and eccentricity. Sabata's hanging out in the saloon, and these guys are stealing they kill some guards with the help of some acrobats, and then they steal the money by stealing the safe.
Yes.
Right? Which makes a lot of sense, right? It's just like, why crack that thing or dynamite it there? It's like, grab the safe, pull it out of the wall with some horses, and they even have like a little dolly track.
I love that. I said they came down and put the track in. I'm like, what are they doing? And I'm like, oh, the safe is too heavy to carry out. You got to put it on this little cart thing and then wheeled it right out. Yeah, it was actually really cool scene and well constructed heist. Even down to like the circus guys, the acrobats, using their little seesaw to get up onto the balcony and stuff. Really good scene.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some food.
You got it, brother. So, here he is shooting the dice. And, this is another great moment, too. There's one of the arch villains actually in this. Not the arch villain, but one of the villains we discover is about to draw a gun on Sabata, and Sabata, tells him, go back to your meal. Like, don't even think about it. But of course, it's like the guy's got to, he's got to test himself. He's got to like Wesley says in Blade, some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill. And so rather than just blast him, Sabata just he goes for his gun, and Sabata shoots the leg of the chair.
Dude, I saw that and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, what an awesome moment. And I'm like, I wish I would have thought of that. But this also came out, 50 years ago or more?
Yeah, man. And boom, face first into his soup.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he doesn't kill him. He just humiliates the fuck out of him. And, yes. And then, Sabata meets a old friend in quotation marks, Banjo, who is played by William Berger, who, according to rumor, was Keith Richards' flatmate. And
what does that mean?
He and Keith Richards were like roomies.
Hmm.
And I know that Berger did like his drugs. I know that he got busted, I think, for possession and did a little time.
Yeah.
In Italy. He's in a ton of these movies. He was the bad guy actually in Sartana. And in this, well, he is a character of another sort.
Very like a very mysterious character throughout most of the movie.
Yes.
And while I was watching this, I'm like, wow, this character is almost like the archetype of the trickster type character, you know, very mischievous, could play both sides of the coin. You not really know what hand he's dealing when he's on screen. But I thought it was a great character, and as the movie progressed, just became cooler and cooler to me.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters, definitely my favorite performance by Berger, because there's something really cool, charismatic, romantic about this character, right? He's a bit of a hippie, though. And if there's one thing you should know when you're watching a spaghetti western, if you see a hippie, don't trust them. You see a lot of hippie-ish characters in Sergio Corbucci's movies, and they're always the bad guys. And I remember thinking, damn, he really hates hippies. He must be like a super conservative guy. Yeah. No, it's not the case. He hated hippies because he saw hippies as being fake and ineffectual. So he was actually to the left of the hippies. And was like, no, like the hippies are all into throwing flowers. They should be throwing dynamite. Mind you, this is, things were very volatile in Italy in terms of the politics. When Frankie shows up, he can give us a pointer or two about the years of lead, which were years of major political instability and terror and just bad news in general.
What would you say are some like characteristics of a hippie type character in films like these?
First of all, their layabouts, right? They have no visible means of employment. Their dress also is a very big part of it. Banjo, for instance, is decked out in
pretty flamboyant, and
really flamboyant.
Those bells too, I noticed.
Yes.
That, which is interesting.
Yes, that jingle wherever he goes, and so he's staying with this prostitute, staying in the she works in the saloon, so he's staying with her. He's living at the saloon. And this is Linda Veras, who plays Jane. And she's head over heels for him. It's unclear, of course, at first whether or not he shares her enthusiasm. And but he tells her, like, hey, I'm just passing through.
I thought she was great. She's a very pretty lady, too.
Yes, yeah. She's really, really good in this. Now, people sometimes wonder, like, why are there so few women in Westerns? That's because there were hardly any women in the Old West. And the ratio of honest women to prostitutes was like 10-1.
Yeah.
Right? So you were either going to the brothel or you weren't getting anything. If you were getting punani in the Old West, generally speaking, you were paying for it. Obviously, things changed with the expansion, but we're talking about like the American frontier, and life was on the tough side, and a lot of people weren't about roughing it, and certainly not a lot of ladies were about roughing it.
Right.
Let me just okay. So the bad guys, they kill the soldiers. They steal the safe. They're on their way. Actually, this beginning is very similar to the beginning of Sartana. One of the similarities between Sartana and SABATA is that they're not really good guys, but they victimize the right people. That is to say, they're very much about fucking with criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And especially criminals that think that they're somehow, I don't know, master criminals. And I've always seen this character and Sartana as like adrenaline junkies. It's like, yeah, they're in it for the money, but they're not. It's not just about the money. It's also about the thrill. So let me play a quick clip here. Now, see, this is cool. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers yet, so they can gank my video, and I don't have to worry about it. Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, these suckers with a false sense of security.
There isn't a Winchester going that can shoot half that distance.
Say what?
Got him.
And Phil, have you ever seen For a Few Dollars More?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? You remember Colonel Mortimer in that? He has like a whole array of rifles, including one with a long barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love the people that are like, "Oh, these movies are too violent." It's just like these guys are just like grabbing their chests and falling over.
Yeah, there's not even an effects or anything. You don't even really need that, you know?
No. You don't need big old bullet squibs. I mean, I love me a good bullet squib, but you don't need them.
I thought that was great. That dive down into that mud, that was really
man.
Good. Like, how much was that guy getting paid to do that?
Oh, dude. Here's a little thing about that you should know about stuntmen. Yeah. They're lunatics.
Yeah.
They're insane. Talk about adrenaline junkies. The best story that I heard about stuntmen was from John Milius. He did a movie about John Dillinger. And there's a scene where this character gets to the top of the stairs and gets blasted by Dillinger, and then he goes brum, 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 down the stairs.
Yeah.
They weren't going to do the stunt, right? But the stunt man begged.
Yeah.
Begged, like practically like on his knees. Oh, please, 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 let me throw myself down a flight of stairs. So they're lunatics.
Crazy, yeah.
Crazy. And and the Spanish stuntmen were second to none.
Yeah, really.
These guys were unbelievable. These guys were like real G's. Yeah, let's take another look at that.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah. Did you notice that? Like how good the stunt work is in this?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
So good.
Yeah, man. That's that's going in the can for sure. So SABATA rides in with all the bodies piled up in a wagon, which is kind of what he was doing. Actually, no, what Manco, aka the man with no name, was doing at the end of For a Few Dollars More. That's one of the things also about the spaghettis. I don't know if you've noticed, the body counts are crazy.
Yeah, they're like horror movies, you know.
They are
sometimes more killing in here, but I'm sure that was a big appeal because I mean this just image here is awesome. Like that concept image, this guy riding back, he's got the safe and a bunch of bodies on him. Yeah, I think his buddy makes a comment on if he had a hard time, getting him up there, all by himself.
Yeah. The answer, of course, would be no, because like SABATA's superhuman.
Yeah.
And so he rides into town, and the army is very grateful, and they're like, "Well, do you want a reward?" And he's like, "Yeah, 5,000." And so, Corinne's just like, what are you, a fucking idiot?
Yeah.
It's like, you just 100,000, you could have just absconded with that. Right. And he's just like, take it easy. Clearly SABATA's playing the long game.
Mm-hmm.
And he also says, and also it's legal. Not that he's a establishment type, right? Not that he's above breaking the law, because he's pretty much a racketeer in this, right? Certainly a shakedown artist.
Yeah. Blackmail, but blackmailer for sure.
Absolutely.
But
so,
the right kind of people he's blackmailing, this guy.
Well, yeah, they're scumbags, right? So it's like he's victimizing people, but he's victimizing the right people. This is Franco Wrestle on the left, who plays Stengel, and he's like the ultimate sadistic aristocrat spaghetti western villain. And when SABATA comes in with the mountain of dead bodies and the safe, he's not really happy. He doesn't seem too happy to see that his bank, which was robbed, has just had the money returned. That's of course because he robbed his own bank.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in this where he's hanging out. He definitely has like a superiority complex, shall we say? And God, just a really great performance. I mean, all the performances are great.
The you know who that reminded me of? The Spangle, the bad guy?
Yeah.
Reminded me of this guy.
Right, let's see. Let's blow that up. Thank you. You noticed that.
Yeah.
Yes. If there is any one movie that I kind of stole from, it's this.
I see the influence here. If you guys haven't checked out Brian's books, definitely check them out on Indiegogo.
Thanks, brother.
Gorilla, yeah.
I mean, I had like a specific actor in mind for him. An actor from the Hammer horror films, who's God, now I can't remember his name, of course. And so he's more effeminate, but he's definitely cut from the same cloth.
Sure.
And I figured if I was going to have a gorilla as the hero, I wanted the villain to be the exact opposite, right? Somebody very refined.
Yeah.
Somebody very elegant, because there's nothing less elegant than a gorilla.
Sure. Yeah, he's very elegant, flamboyant as well, that guy.
Yeah, with a little bit more of an emphasis on Chilblain's a little bit more of a James Bond villain, practically.
Yeah.
Certainly in terms of his ambitions and the scope of his caper. So then Corintia, of course, is showing off his.
You still have me big screens over here.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Boomer move. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that, brother. And check this out. Yeah, so the city is Daugherty City, which is in Teja, Texas. We discover. And pretty much Stengel and his friend Ferguson own that town, and are looking to obviously exploit it in any way they can. So SABATA's got Corintia as already on his team, and then Corintia's like yelling up to Alley Cat to show off some of his mad crazy skills. And he just just check this out. He just jumps off the roof and he hits a trampoline and flips over a moving wagon. That's not stationary.
Yeah.
Right? It's moving. He flips right over it and then lands on his feet. And then you see in the same shot, right? There's no cuts. You can see it's that actor.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And that was one of the genius moves that they had in the Spaghettis, was they would cast a lot of the stuntmen in small parts, often as goons, right? So if they were like falling, getting shot, falling off of horses or flying out a window or something like that, you could see it was the same guy.
Yeah, and what a weird, very interesting character design too, because like you see this guy, and every time you see Alley Cat, you know it's him. He's got the very, distinctive hair, and the outfit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is he supposed to be like, would you say, a depiction of a Native American?
Yes. Yeah, he's supposed to be either a Native American or a half-breed.
Yeah.
Needless to say, in the Italian Westerns, you're not going to see any actual Native Americans playing Native Americans. And in fact, you will never see a Mexican actor playing a Mexican. And there's, with one exception, and Any Gun Can Play, Gilbert Roland is in that, and who's a Mexican actor. And that's the only time a Mexican played a Mexican in an Italian Western. And boy, there were a lot of Mexicans in the Italian Westerns, because a lot of them took place along the border or south of the border. Now, this is a great scene too. I love this because this is another scene that's a setup that doesn't make any sense when you first see it. What's happening is, let's see if I have a clip here. That's right, bitches. I can show clips.
You got clips.
And I don't have to worry about getting yanked and fined. And, if I got yanked off the air, whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go.
You never know.
You passing through too? Yeah.
Now, right off the bat, SABATA's just like, I don't trust this fool.
Yeah.
Not because he doesn't know him, but because he knows him.
Right.
And we don't know their history, but we do know that they've crossed paths before.
Mm-hmm.
There you can hear the little bells.
Yes. Yeah, the bells.
SABATA. I don't hardly recognize you anymore. Because of the safe? And if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Me? I'd have kept the money.
That's because he thinks small. Right, so he starts playing, he was strumming before, but now he starts playing faster and then faster, and
that's great.
Yeah.
The switch back and forth, it's so spaghetti Western.
Yeah, it is. And the bells tinkling. It's just a really well-designed character, but played with panache by Mr. Berger. Okay, now he's not playing fast. Now he's playing frenzied.
I thought that I never had seen that, like a swoop shot like that back and forth before, and that was really ballsy, but I think it worked,
Oh, absolutely.
You were out of tempo.
Right.
You never
Yeah. So isn't that badass? I just love that. Yeah. Because SABATA knows that basically what he was doing there, that was a threat. Right? that he was like building up to about to do something with that banjo because that banjo is concealing a little secret, a nasty little surprise, which is unveiled in what's got to be maybe my favorite scene in the movie, close to it. And oh God, what's the? I know I wrote this down. It's in my notes. When in this scene where his comrades in crime come to visit Stengel, he's reading a book that's titled "Inequality is the Basis for Society," which, as far as I know, is not a real book, but it gives you an indication of his Machiavellian outlook on life, and also his inflated sense of self. You know, he talks a lot about the superior man and how the inferior man could never hope to stand against the superior man, the man with the superior intellect. What up, Pops? Oh yeah, Path of the Pale Rider. Yeah, folks, check that out. Very happy that there are more Western comics in CG. It's definitely encouraging. Another thing that you see in Sartana that's in this too is that Sartana and SABATA are both like technocrats. They've got funky gadgets, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Stengel does too. And you can see here he has like this stick, and there's like a ram's head at the end, and coming out coming out of its mouth is a big old spike, like a dart.
Yeah, also very pulpy,
Super.
Like,
this is like a villain from like The Shadow or something.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, definitely Shadow vibes. This, would be his iconic weapon that he wields, and threatening his underlings with it. So
right.
Everybody knows. They already know what it can do, so that informs the viewer of the danger.
Right. And so this guy is just like, man, because he doesn't know what SABATA's angle is. He's thinking like maybe he's like working for the government, and I think I'm gonna like cash in my chips and get the hell out of here. And Stengel's like, you ain't going nowhere, bitch. You're staying right here. And then this actor, Robert Hundar was his name. He's in a lot of spaghetti. Sometimes as the hero, he goes to pay the acrobats that were responsible for the robbery, and then of course proceeds with his goons to just blast these fools.
Yeah,
because no witnesses. But then it's just like, you think it would occur to these guys, hey, wait a second, we were sent to kill the witnesses, so aren't we witnesses now?
Yeah, you always think that your crime boss is on your side.
Yeah, seriously.
Not expendable.
Right. If he's going to fuck over these, those guys, what makes you think he's not going to fuck you over too?
Right. No, this is good. And you see this kind of like plot device to show how evil the villain is. I did it in the Lost Pages too, where I had the villain sacrifice his own like he kills his own henchmen, right?
Yep.
It shows no loyalty to the people around you, and it could show you how bad a villain can be if they're willing to kill their own men.
Right, because every human being to them is just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And these people also, Stengel sees them as vastly inferior to himself, so it's his right, almost his obligation to step on them. Let's see. And then, oh, that's right. They're trying to get away with the wagon that the acrobats were in, and SABATA blasts them with his 4-barrel Dillinger. 4-barrel Dillinger, even. And you don't see it in this, I don't think, but you see it in Return of SABATA. It's actually a 6-barrel Dillinger.
Really? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. No. Didn't he show it in this?
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
I forget.
But the handle, right?
Yeah. And the grip. He just flips it open. Like 2 barrels in there too.
They didn't really pay much pointed out obvious thing. He did it a couple times.
Yeah.
But they probably make it a big deal in the sequel.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the sequel isn't as good, but it's perfectly fine. It's just you're gonna going from this to Return of SABATA, you're gonna be kind of disappointed if you lower your, because this is first rate.
Yeah.
I know that Lee Van Cleef said he was a little disappointed in this movie because it's not as good as the Sergio Leone movies. And I'm like, bruh, could you set the bar any higher? Of course it's not as good as any of the Sergio Leone movies. It's not a Sergio Leone movie.
Right.
Anybody that's interested in this genre, I and anybody that knows anything about it will always tell them the same exact thing. Go watch all the Leone movies. Those are the best. And then, watch, A, B, C, or D. Usually, anything by a director named Sergio, and you're good to go. Like Sergio Corbucci or Sergio Salima are also two of the greats. Yeah, here's Alley Cat. Boing!
He just jumps on there. It's awesome. He throws a guy out.
I know, the dude's like a fucking superhero.
Yeah.
That's like some Daredevil shit right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's Stengel actually reading. Let's see it again. Inequality is the basis for society. Okay, dude. Yeah, and then we see, and this is very much like a James Bond villain.
Yes.
He has a pair of dueling pistols. So he's going to kill Robert Hundar, but he's going to give him a fighting chance. And so he loads the dueling pistols, slides one over to Hundar, but then there are these shields that are shaped like people with hearts and a hole where the heart is. And then Stengel goes into this little monologue about how he loves living on the very edge of death. Right? How he just gets off, right? So you realize it's this guy's doing this shit for shits and giggles. He's this is entertainment for him. And he commences to blow Robert Hundar away. He doesn't stand a chance. Of course, that's a really good shot of the actor right there. And, one thing I didn't realize, that I never realized, I just found out today, that is the Via Mussolini.
Yeah?
Mussolini lived there.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And it's a ranch house, but it's used in a lot of spaghettis, and in the spaghettis, it's always a palace, right? Because when you're shooting a film, the exterior doesn't have to match. I mean, the interior doesn't have to match the exterior,
right?
But yeah, so El Duce's former digs. May he rest in piss. So yeah, there's a great little scene where SABATA sends in a wagon with a phonograph of his voice saying, "Don't shoot, Stengel. Don't shoot. You'll regret it." And so then, of course, he and his men start blasting. The horses run away, and then boom! That blew up real good.
Yeah, some great explosions there.
Yeah, really great ones. Oh yeah, and then he keeps jacking up the price, right? It's like first he's like, I'll settle for like what was it, like $5,000, and then it's like now it's 10, now it's 20, now it's 30. Like every time Stengel tries to kill him, he's just like, he survives, he kills the assassins, and then is just like, yeah, the price just went up. And oh yeah, this is a pretty good scene where we get a little peek at Banjo's interior life. He's hanging out, reading a book of poetry, probably Yeats or Keats or somebody like that.
Yeah, lounging.
Yeah, he's lounging. And his girlfriend's very obviously into him, and she's talking about her dreams and how, like, hey, maybe we can like go off together and get married and be together forever. And then suddenly he's scared shitless. He wakes up. It's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, the idea of him being putting down roots, and devoting himself to one woman. Yeah, it like absolutely terrifies him. Not getting shot, but basically like a boring domestic life. And oh yeah, that's a great scene too, where these goons come in, some of Stengel's goons come in, and but yeah, and SABATA has like popped out a picture from its frame, and they come in and they scan the room, and and he's just like hanging out in the frame with the pillow. But then they start blasting, and it turns out that was actually his reflection.
Right, in a mirror.
In a mirror. And so then, of course, he has to blast him with the 4-barrel. Yeah, and then when he has dinner with Stengel, finally, that's right, because he lets one of Stengel's goons go and says, like, tell Stengel I'll be over for dinner, right? It's time to actually talk to the guy and let him know who he's fucking with. And he puts the cane down in such a place, right, where he could just like click, hit him, and immediately SABATA knows something is up, and he puts a glass decanter between him and that weapon.
I like that. I like it because it was subtle, and then it continued.
Yep.
Like he moves it again, so
Yep.
he knew what was up with the cane already.
Yep. And then Stengel is thrilled because he's like, an equal. Like, I'm facing like a real challenge. I'm facing like a guy that's on my level. Oh yeah, Sharky. The deadly assassin, the stone killer who lives with his mom.
Yeah.
Who is constantly basically saying, go out and get a job.
Yeah. And he gets one.
Yeah, and he gets one. And he's just like, oh, ma. Yeah, so, he's not going to say no to that big wad of cash. Oh, yeah, that's another thing about the spaghettis is that the killers, everybody is really, really accurate, right? They can shoot the gnat off a dog's dick, for lack of a better analogy. And so he, like, shoots these 2 twigs so that they end up as crosses. One of the things that I love about these movies is that, like a lot of Italian movies, they're not trying to convince you that that these take place in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, don't you get the feeling that the Spaghetti West is kind of like its own universe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so, especially coming from where we are now and where society was when these films came out. It's so foreign from us, basically because it's just been passed down by tall tale, and
Yep.
and basically Western myth.
Yeah.
It's inflated into its own universe.
Yeah. The first thing anybody needs to know if they're going to do research on the Old West is that you're dealing with a myth.
Mm-hmm.
Hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay. Some accounts are more believable, more credible than others. There are newspaper stories, for instance, that sort of a thing. But then you had the dime novels too, which really muddied the waters.
Sure.
Because those were largely BS. And it's like people like Billy the Kid, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, these guys were being mythologized in their own lifetimes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Wyatt Earp lived until 1920 or 1919 or something like that.
Yep.
And he was already a sensation. And
the great American hero, really, in terms of our great mythic figures.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's just like these, there's the reality and there's the myth. And it's like, Germany, for instance, has the Ring of the Nibelungs. England has, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, also Lord of the Rings. Scandinavia has Beowulf. We have the Old West. And, obviously what's different with our legend is that our legend's, based on a time that really wasn't that long ago. I mean, long ago for us, but not in terms of the general scope of history. Yeah. So then, of course, this is the part of the film where basically it's just like Stengel's just sending more assassins,
Right.
Right. Let's pay the dude, right? And he's just like, it's you'd think the villains at a certain point would know when they've been outdone, but
this is when someone come and tell him that the priest wants to talk to him? Is that what it is, or is he looking for him?
Oh God, I forget.
I think someone
told him. Yeah, I think somebody told him like, "Hey, the priest wants to see you."
Right.
It is worth mentioning that this movie does seem to have had some scenes removed.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say removed, from these prints, but removed from, the final edit of the movie before it was released. That's not to say that it's incoherent. It's not. But I think that leaves some of the scenes feeling a little almost out of context, a little bit, for lack of a better term. So yeah, the fake priest here, he's got a derringer stashed, and he's very clumsy too.
Yeah,
he's not exactly a smooth operator. He's got a derringer and a hanky. And he's also visibly nervous. And yeah.
Pick the wrong guy for this job.
Pick the wrong guy. He's macking while you're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like he offers him the bag and then pulls a watch chain that's connected to it and blasts a hole through the bag and into the priest. And yes, of course, it was hooked up to his derringer. And then we see that he was packing. And then suddenly there's funeral music, organ music.
Yes.
And it's from Banjo, who's just been like hanging out watching this.
Right. And that scene, that's where I'm like, this guy's like a trickster. He just pops up. He's there to almost antagonize and entice for no reason at this point. And he's just observing, Yep. So, and also that scene with the bag, really, it was like another James Bond-esque scene where they're like, oh, I got a cool idea for something he could do. Let's write a scene around it, which is that. And then, also see some influences with that and what we'll see Banjo do later for Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or the mariachi series.
Yes. Yes, which are, very heavily inspired by these films. And what makes Banjo such a great character, especially the way that Berger plays him, is you want to like this guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I certainly do. There's something larger than life, romantic, right, about a figure like this. So he's like kind of like a tramp, but clearly he's not a dummy.
Mm-hmm.
And and then this is probably my favorite scene in the movie right here.
Yeah, this is so early. I think earlier in the film, does he explain that he's on the run from he skipped out of town and came here because some people are after him?
No, these guys just pretty much just show up.
Okay.
Right? But they're the guys show up that are looking for him.
Yeah.
And so he steps out into the street, and then of course, his girl is like, Banjo, and she's like running to trying to get to him, and SABATA holds her back since keeping her out of the line of fire.
Right.
And let's take a look at this because this is just kind of badass.
Yeah, it's a really good scene.
I've been up and down the country, but then I heard you're in Texas.
There's no one around who can put one over on us Claytons.
We're finishing up the job, Banjo.
Oh, shit.
It's sad to have to die so far away from home.
That zoom in there, that was great.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and here's Jane, this very devoted girlfriend.
Banjo!
Surprise, bitches!
Cool. I see. I didn't even pick this up here or when I watched it last week. So lever action, lever action rifle.
Yes.
There's a screw that just quick fires, pushes down on the trigger. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah. So as he's cocking it, it's firing.
It's like feathering a revolver, and just letting it go. That's really cool. I didn't notice that the first time I saw that, because he does. He held that last shot. He turns it upside down and just hits the lever.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool.
And this is a totally believable gadget.
Yeah.
Right.
He could have made it himself.
Absolutely.
Knew an ironsmith or something like that. Very cool. And the camera work in that scene is great with the twisting of the cameras. Everything is very readable and not muddy in these fast action scenes.
Right? Everything is very clearly delineated. You're never confused as to what's happening.
Right.
There's a TV series called Old West Tech about like some of the funky gadgets and stuff that people were coming up with in the Old West. And, things that never caught on for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Because they didn't work well, or they were stupid, or whatever. Oh man, I highly recommend that series. If you can find that, it's called Old West Tech. It's from that actually I learned that the very first drive-by was by like some Chinese dude.
Really?
Yeah. That because the Old West is generally regarded as what I think 1868 to 1920. And yeah, it was like a Chinese guy that was like a gangsta and wanted to take out some of his enemies. So he put like iron plating on a car and just like rolled by and just lit these dudes up.
Crazy.
Yes, the first drive-by, yeah, by a Chinese American brother.
Right through the heart. He remembers.
And now that scene, doesn't that give you a feeling of the mythic?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That he's like one of these like great like mythical characters, one of these great mythical figures, like from the Spaghetti West.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that. But oh, Banjo, you disappoint us. You disappoint us by the end. But yeah, there you get a good look at the contraption.
So cool, great scene. And just now this guy has a reason, and then these guys have dealt with each other before and kind of are going to team up here, it seems.
Yep. And yes, then we get the raid on Stengel's fortress. This also was a big inspiration for issue 7 of Six Gun Gorilla, the big gun down. You know what I stole from this scene? The mining cart.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Like in this, he puts the dynamite there, blows the thing over, and they're just raining down fire as they go. And then what they hit at the end, it looked like Lee Van Cleef like fell out of. I don't know if it was actually him, but it looked like someone fell off on that left side of the cart when it stops really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone got hurt, but yeah.
That was his stunt double, Romano Pupo.
There you go.
Romano Pupo. You'll see him in a lot of spaghettis, always as like as a goon. But yeah, this is just a great, exciting scene. Dynamite blowing up. Just 187ing these fools. At this point, I could say that this is like by now it's like I think we could maybe comfortably call this like a genocide.
There's a lot of dead bodies.
Yeah, somebody actually counted all of the deaths in this. It's 75. That's the body count for this movie.
That's crazy.
Right? So it's like, damn, it's like Sabata's like pretty much on the level of like a war criminal at this point. Oh man. And then of course they bust out the Gatling, and this is the rare case where you see a Gatling gun in a spaghetti western that's an actual Gatling gun.
Nice.
Yes. Because usually they created these props that looked like Gatling guns, but were not authentic. But
now, you went over a couple weeks ago. You did. What was the first movie you reviewed on here?
Django.
Yeah, Django, which he has in his coffin.
Yes.
A machine gun. Now, what was that? Was that a Gatling?
No, that was a machine gun that didn't exist at that time, and actually never existed. Like that wasn't an actual functioning weapon at any point. That was just a prop that they designed to look like a machine gun, and I guess to maybe shoot blanks or something like that. To create the illusion that it was a machine gun.
I had forgotten that I watched that film last year sometime with my parents because I was really in a mood to watch a spaghetti western. I don't think either of them had seen it. And the coffin thing, and when he pulled out the machine gun, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then there was this, of course, everybody knows of the video game Red Dead Redemption, right?
Yep.
Very popular. So before Red Dead Redemption, the first iteration of it was called Red Dead Revolver, and that was on the first Xbox. And it was a game that was originally made by Capcom, so the art style was a little bit more cartoony. And the Rockstar bought the rights to publish the game, and it had awesome cast of characters inspired by spaghetti westerns. And one of them, which I would play as a lot, he was the Undertaker, and he was like this skinny guy with a top hat, very creepy looking. But on his back, he carried a coffin, a casket, and his special move when you get your meter up or whatever, he'd flip it off his back. It would open up, and then out would pop a Gatling gun, and you could just turn and mow it like a turret. I'm like, they got that from this, basically.
Absolutely. Because Django was one of those movies that was like an international smash hit in like every country but here.
Yeah.
There are always movies like that. Like Mad Max, for instance, the first Mad Max, huge international hit, gigantic hit in Europe, gigantic hit in Asia, very popular in Japan. And then they released it here and they dubbed it into American.
Uh-huh.
Think about that. They dubbed it into American. It was already in English.
Right.
You stupid mother effers, right? It was already in English, but they were just like, oh, well, these are like, they've got all Australian accents, and like the audience is going to tune out. So we have to dub it into American.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it bombed. And it wasn't successful here.
Huh.
Bud Spencer, Terrence Hill, like biggest movie stars in the world at one point, everywhere except for here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
It's cool to see the Gatling gun here.
Yeah, it's a nice shot of it.
Yeah.
And Alley Cat makes his way over with the dynamite, and boom. And then, of course, we have got the showdown.
Yes.
With SABATA. And spoiler alert. I mean, wait, this movie was like made in like what, 1972? I think. Yeah. Right? So sorry, folks. Plug your ears, close your eyes. We're discussing like the climax of the film. By the way, folks, if this movie sounds interesting to you, remember, link is below in the description. And you can follow. You can see this movie by clicking on that link, or you can also just go on YouTube and do a search for SABATA.
Yes.
And there's a beautiful 720p Blu-ray rip on there.
I watched it. It was good.
Fantastic, right? So yeah, it's just so badass. You're talking about like how he's, the setup with the coin.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
exactly.
so he flicks.
So this part, they go through kind of that game, right, with the two bodies, and SABATA, he fires, but what happens? He closes he basically cheats, right?
He cheats. He cheats,
puts
right?
Armor flap through the heart hole, and he doesn't have ammo anymore, and so the bad guy here goes on his little monologue before he kills SABATA. And just as we saw at the beginning with, basically conditioning the audience to know about that coin, he's able to throw it with accuracy across the room. He throws it here on the cane that is on the table, shooting the spike out and killing Roland. And this is why I brought up how pulpy the writing in this is.
Yes.
Because if you read an old Shadow pulp, a lot of the times, and Razorfist goes on about this, a lot of the times the villain dies in the way that they kill their victims, right?
Yes. Or they're taken out by their own weapons.
Right. Yeah. So they reap what they sow.
Exactly. It's justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny how like Stengel considers himself so superior, and then he's like playing this game, but then he's cheating. He has that foot pedal that puts the piece of iron up to cover the hole where the where the heart should be.
And that's a true sign of a bad guy. And if you look at wrestling, that's a true sign of a heel. You know,
yes.
They pronounce themselves as better than everyone, but they always, in the end, they still have to cheat against the guy.
Yeah,
that gets them. That gets the heat.
Like you and Brandon with those loaded knee and elbow pads, man. Right. No, I'm not going to leave that alone. So, yeah, and then of course, well, you know, there's more to the climax that we'll leave for you folks to check out. Real quick, let me play the trailer.
Yes,
because it's kind of badass. And like I said, you know, you can also see the sequels. There's one real sequel. I don't know if you caught when I was talking about Adios SABATA.
Mm.
That's not a SABATA movie. that was a movie. That was a movie called Indio Black with Yul Brynner that they just retitled as a SABATA movie because they figured it would make more money that way.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because like the characters will be like, "Hey, SABATA," and then the theme song has the character's name in it, so it's like, Indio Black, because they weren't going to go back and go SABATA,
right?
But yeah, if you enjoyed that, if you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy that.
A rifle that never misses.
Well, I mean, you know, not to be pedantic here, but it's not the rifle that doesn't miss.
Yeah. A pistol that shoots two ways. And a look that means you're dead before you draw.
Ay gusto. Do you speak any Spanish?
No, not really.
No,
my brother speaks a little more, but
yeah, me neither, because I have no idea what that means. Che SABATA. Augusto. Where's Ollie when you need him?
The man and the gun are one, called SABATA.
Well, gusto means like, you know. Mi gusto is I like, but I don't know what che SABATA means.
Yeah,
you never find out who SABATA is, or any backstory.
Nope.
And even that's the last line of the film is his hefty friend is like, "Oh, who are you?" or something like that. And what's he just leaves him with something, that unanswered thing, you know. Just rides off in the sunset.
Yep. And then of course Banjo tries to screw him, and he still gives him the $5,000 that he was originally going to give him, but not like a full cut. And you know, so it's, you know, he clearly has a code.
But he shoots the cash, which was great.
Yes.
And did the Leone films come out before this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's just reminded me of the endings, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly too. You know, where you know, leave some gold for him.
Right, but right, I'm going to give you your cut, but F you.
Yeah. Definitely, it's a good ending.
Yeah, the Leone movies were they're not the first spaghetti. What are you saying? What are you whispering about, brother?
I was just reading that.
Oh yeah, it's Ehi
I'll translate it.
Amico Cesabada Hai Chiuso. I know I'm mangling that. Everybody, my Spanglish is for shit, so please, I apologize. Where's my Mexican brothers from 656 when I need them, damn it? They'd sort this out. Yo, what up, Matt? Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, brother. And yeah, one of the things that was interesting about Lee Van Cleef was he was one of those dudes that always looked older than he actually was.
Yeah, he does look old.
But then he, as he got older, he looked like he was never aging. And he always looked actually kind of like younger. Well, not younger, but he just always looked like an older dude. Could have been like the premature gray or something, but he had that great face and just a tremendous amount of presence. But yeah, you were asking about the Leone westerns, about those, if those came out first. The Leone westerns aren't the first spaghetti westerns, but they're the first spaghetti westerns. That's to say, the early Italian westerns are basically imitations of American westerns. Yeah. So it was the Leone films were the first westerns. Fistful of Dollars was the very first Italian western that had like its own vibe, its own flavor. It basically created the world of the spaghetti west, where like every other spaghetti western pretty much takes place in, which is like like an ultra violent hellscape where nobody's safe. They'll kill little kids, they'll kill priests, and life is pretty much human life is pretty much worthless. But luckily, there's always heroes, although they usually have shades of gray. Yeah. So overall, you liked some? You enjoyed this movie?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was, seeing all the Leone films and Django and more modern stuff as well. I thought this was really cool. And I'm a huge pulp fan, and just seeing those kind of themes in here was, even if they just didn't do it knowingly, was really cool. And just seeing kind of those themes radiate throughout other spaghetti westerns too. Even if you look at, I don't know if you read Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God book, that was so pulpy.
No.
You would love it.
I don't doubt.
It's awesome. I'll have to I'll see if I have an extra copy. I'll send you, because
dude,
it's something you'd really enjoy, and it's so pulpy. It's like it's a western, not really a spaghetti, but definitely based in the Wild West. So many pulpy aspects to it, and I really dug it. All the characters are really distinct and memorable.
Yeah, no, I love Aaron's work. He's a terrific writer, and I wanted to back that campaign, but I was like cold busted at that time. I couldn't back as much stuff as I would have liked to. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, but this movie was a lot of fun.
Right? Like you would say that because I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like westerns." I'm just like, but these aren't your regular westerns, right? Yeah. They very much take place in their own world. But yeah, all the pulpy aspects, absolutely 100% intentional. Yeah. Because there are a lot of the guys who wrote for these movies started out writing pulps.
Yeah.
And they were certainly aware of the American pulps, which were translated into numerous languages. And also, of course, they had comic books. And, Yeah, I just love this movie to pieces. You know, I think that it was unfair for Mr. Van Cleef to compare it to the Leone movies.
Yeah.
Here, check this out. This is the song that's been stuck in my freaking head all day. Phil, now I'm gonna put this on you, brother.
All right.
Good luck getting this out of your head. And yes, actually, he was a 9-fingered man. He was Lee Van Cleef was missing a finger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe during a culinary accident.
They should have explored that. Do they ever in this?
No,
this next movie.
No.
That would have been cool to see an origin thing.
Right.
That.
Like that bastard shot my finger off.
Yeah, that would have been great.
SABATA is the only invincible man in the countryside.
Okay, now this is the part that especially just sticks. That will stick in your head.
SABATA, the fastest gun in the West. Villain. He's the only invincible man in the countryside.
SABATA, SABATA. I was like walking around the house today, fucking singing this.
SABATA, SABATA, SABATA.
Dude, how cool would it be to get the rights for a comic for SABATA?
Oh my god!
And then you could write the origin of how he lost his finger and stuff, and like the how Banjo and him met. How like the cool thing about that first movie is they implanted stuff of now there's a past to him, and now they could expand upon that if they wanted to. You know?
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, they did like one official sequel, and there's Adios SABATA, which is not a SABATA movie, but definitely check it out because it's by the same director. It has a lot of the same cast. The plot's kind of similar, although the location's very different because it's set in Mexico when Emperor Maximilian, this German dude, was like ruling in Mexico. Yeah, which is completely insane. What were the Germans doing in Mexico?
Yeah.
But historically, accurate in that respect. So I'm trying to figure out what I should do next week. Do you have any ideas or requests or anything?
For a film? I mean,
because I'm kind of leaning towards Blind Man right now.
I've never seen that.
Let's see if I can bust the.
That could be cool.
Are you familiar with the Japanese Zatoichi movies?
No.
The Zatoichi series, I think there's like 28 of them. These were low budget movies that came out every 6 months in Japan, and they had really great production values because they were using the same sets, the same costumes as like the bigger productions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about a blind masseur who's also a Yakuza, who's like a badass swordsman. And the best way I've heard him described is that he's kind of a cross between Toshiro Mifune, Jesus Christ, and Curly from the Three Stooges. And,
Yeah.
and they're awesome movies. The plot is always the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
The plot is always the same. There's like some girl that's been taken by the Yakuza. They're going to turn her out, turn her into a prostitute. He has to step in and like kill like 500 people to to secure her freedom. Blind Man is kind of, but it's like because he's blind, he has superpowers, right?
Oh.
So he can, his hearing is super sharp. His sense of smell is super sharp. And Blind Man, the guy's just blind. And it's not a superpower. It's actually a handicap, right?
Yeah.
Like, here, let me see. I do believe I have a trailer. Yes. Got to give big ups, by the way, to the Spaghetti Western database. Anybody who is curious about the genre, this is the place to go.
That shot is great.
Oh yeah,
or something, but that's awesome.
That's a poster for Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. Oh my god. And if you're new to the genre, they have a top 20 and then an alternate top 20. And I pretty much agree with. I mean, you could pick any movie off of those top 20 lists, and you're good. You're golden. Like you're getting like a kick-ass film. So go check their site out, folks.
Da che parte è il Messico? Come faccio a mostrartelo?
Oh wow, this trailer is in Italian.
Indicalo al cavallo.
Notice the sitar in the soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Uccidi quel bastardo di un cieco.
Chiudete gli occhi, luridi figli di cagne!
Fernando Baldi, or here he's credited as Ferdinando Baldi. Oh, you did not just see that, folks.
I didn't see that.
It's the European trailer. Yeah, so of course, yeah.
Voglio le mie 50 donne.
Oh yeah, Ringo Starr is in this too.
Uscite.
Yeah.
Yeah, these dudes think they're getting muchachas. They think like, hey, we're gonna get some girls.
Yeah.
And instead, they get laid. That also an authentic Gatling. Wait, it's like blink and you'll miss him. He's actually has a pretty big part in the movie too. Actually, Ringo Starr.
It's crazy.
There he is. It's like in this trailer, it's like blink and you'll miss him. Let's see if he gets a close up. I don't think he does, because this was actually produced by the guy who produced the Beatles records.
Oh wow!
Yeah, starring Tony Anthony as the as the hero. So I'm thinking that, but if you or anybody else has any requests, also, folks, you can drop them below in the comments.
Put them in the comments down. Leave a comment if you guys like the movie and the talk, the chat, Jamboree.
Yeah, boy.
Make sure you hit that like button as well.
Smash it, and ring a ding ding dong, the little bell for notifications.
Right.
Phil, thank you so much for hanging out, brother. I thought I was going to be stuck here monologuing, and you just made this stream like 100 times cooler.
I hope people dug it. It was fun.
Yeah. Tell these fine folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Zaid Comics on YouTube. We talk about comics. We stream a couple nights a week, and we create comics as well, just like Brian. So you go to zaidcomics.com to check out all of our books. We're crowdfunding The Lost Pages 3, which is kick-ass superhero comics in our own style, different genres throughout the universe in here. And if you guys haven't read it, you can grab this one, which is a new collected edition, 212 pages of story, all in a manga-sized grayscale book. And you can find that, the link to that on zaidcomics.com as well. So definitely go over there and check it out. Help us create our third volume of the book.
Hell yeah. And, I've read volumes 1 and 2, and they are fan-frickin-tastic. Hey, man, look, if they weren't fantastic, I probably wouldn't diss them, but I would probably just not say anything.
Sure.
but they're awesome. You and Brandon are absolutely killing it, and I can't wait for the for the next installment. Awesome. All right, folks, we're gonna peace out, and we will talk to you next week. So, having said that, peace, love, and pasta fazool.